Today on NewsWatch, terror strikes from Manhattan to Minnesota. Investigators racing to find out who launched a wave of bombings and why. Plus, they're the fastest growing religious group, or should we say non-religious group, in America. What this trend of unbelief could mean for religious freedom. And how a Christian discipleship program is setting inmates free, body and soul. Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Caitlin Burke. A bomb exploded at a New Jersey train station early this morning, capping a weekend filled with terror, from a separate bombing in New York to a stabbing spree in Minnesota. At least 5 people are now in FBI custody after Saturday's explosion, which injured 29 people in Manhattan's Chelsea neighborhood. But it's unclear if the 2 New Jersey explosions are directly linked to what happened in New York City. George Thomas has the latest.
A dramatic moment captured on tape as a device explodes outside a train station in New Jersey early this morning, just as a bomb squad was preparing to disarm it. The FBI says 4 other devices were found in the same backpack. One local official said that had all devices gone off, the explosion would have certainly killed and injured many.
So bomb just went off in New York.
This latest incident comes after a bomb exploded in New York City Saturday evening.
We heard the shatter of the windows and everything else, and we just ducked.
The explosion so powerful, authorities are shocked it didn't kill anyone.
Come with me. I'm holding you, okay? Come with me. You okay? Nothing's gonna happen.
All 29 people injured have since been released from area hospitals. Police say the bomb, which was placed in this dumpster, and another device found nearby, were shrapnel-filled pressure cookers designed for maximum casualties. Moments after the explosion, a 911 caller warned there will be more. Investigators are at the crime scene today, combing through thousands of bits and pieces of the bomb that still cover the street.
The evidence we've collected is being taken to our lab at Quantico for review, and we are following every viable lead as we continue to work jointly with the NYPD.
Authorities are also trying to determine if the explosion here in Manhattan's Chelsea neighborhood is linked to a pipe bomb that exploded in New Jersey earlier on Saturday.
The word is that both devices are pressure cookers, that they were certainly similar in construct.
Meanwhile, ISIS claimed on Sunday that the 22-year-old Somali American responsible for stabbing 9 people at a mall in Minnesota was a soldier of the Islamic State. According to eyewitnesses, the attacker made references to Allah and asked at least one victim if he was a Muslim before attacking him with a knife. The bombing in New York City and the attack in Minnesota come just a week before the first presidential debate, putting terrorism back in the national spotlight. George Thomas, CBN News.
Many Israelis are wondering if they're at the beginning of a new wave of terror attacks. Another stabbing Monday morning near Jerusalem's Old City left 2 Israeli police officers seriously wounded. The Palestinian attacker was shot and critically injured. Over the weekend, there was a surge in stabbing and ramming attacks in Jerusalem and Judea, also known as the West Bank. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said with the upcoming Jewish holidays in 2 weeks, there's been an increase in terror attacks, along with mortars from the Syrian civil war falling on the Golan Heights.
Ahead of the Tishrei holidays, the risk threshold has risen. The IDF and the Israel police are boosting their forces. The security forces are on heightened alert, and I will meet with them today in order to ensure that we will be ready to defend our people during this sensitive period. At the same time, our eyes are on the north. We will not allow an additional front to be opened against the State of Israel on the Golan Heights. Not there and not anywhere else.
About this time last year, Palestinians unleashed a brutal wave of terror attacks against Israelis. It took security forces months to bring it under control. The United Nations is holding their first ever Summit on Refugees and Migrants at their General Assembly today. Leaders from around the world are coming together in New York to address the massive movements of refugees and migrants. More than 65 million people are currently displaced around the world. On the sidelines of the assembly, President Obama meets with the Iraqi Prime Minister. They'll discuss the ongoing crisis in Iraq and how to take back the northern city of Mosul from the Islamic State. Pope Francis has encouraged Europeans to welcome in refugees. He says it's, quote, our greatest security against hateful acts of terrorism. He made the comments to alumni of Jesuit schools at a refugee conference in Europe. The Pope said, quote, I encourage you to welcome refugees into your homes and communities so that their first experience of Europe is not the traumatic experience of sleeping on cold streets, but one of warm welcome. Turkish police have arrested 40 foreigners with suspected links to ISIS. Police launched 23 raids in Istanbul Sunday, capturing suspects from Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, and other Muslim nations. Some of the suspects had traveled to conflict zones in Syria. Turkish officials are on high alert after a recent wave of suicide bombings that left hundreds dead. A red flag warning of extreme fire danger is in effect in Southern California. The region is experiencing a major heat wave. On Sunday, 160 people were treated for heat-related illnesses at the Los Angeles Rams football game. 14 of them were rushed to the hospital. The national religious broadcasters honored a former Atlanta fire chief for standing up for his faith. Former Chief Kelvin Cochran was fired in January 2015 after Atlanta city leaders took issue with a men's Bible study he wrote. In the study, Cochran writes about sexual immorality. Atlanta's mayor fired him soon after, saying his biblical views were discriminatory. The NRB honored Cochran with the prestigious Faith and Freedom Award, citing his steadfast faith in a time when religious freedom is under attack. The religious landscape of America is changing, with a dramatic shift among young people. Studies show millennials are less religious than their parents ever were, and that's a cause for concern among many of America's leaders. Our White House correspondent Jennifer Wishon takes a look at what it all means.
Despite our Judeo-Christian roots, fewer Americans are identifying as Christians, while the number of Americans with no religion is growing at a record pace. Pew Research first surveyed more than 35,000 Americans about their religious views in 2007, then repeated the study 7 years later. During that time, those who call themselves Christians dropped nearly 8%, driven by declines among mainline Protestant and Catholic congregations. Non-Christian faiths inched up ever so slightly, just over 1%. At the same time, though, Americans who say they're atheist, agnostic, or so-called religious nuns jumped by more than 6%, making the nuns now nearly 23% of the population. 3 Christian U.S. senators, 2 Democrats and 1 Republican, recently talked about this change and the role faith plays in their jobs as elected leaders.
I've struggled in 22 years in public life for sort of how to be a religious person in the world that I'm in. And what I've decided is I should just be authentically who I am, and much like I would share that I'm interested in the Kansas City Chiefs or love baseball and camping, if I would share that, or if I would share that I'm married and have 3 children, why wouldn't I share the most important thing about me?
Oklahoma Senator James Lankford says the nation is becoming increasingly uncomfortable with expressions of faith.
I tell people all the time that faith is faith when it permeates every part of who you are. If your faith only matters to you on weekends, that's really not a faith, that's a hobby. And you can have a hobby, that's okay, but if it's a faith, it affects how I treat my wife, it affects how we treat each other, it affects how I drive, it affects how I interact with other people. It shouldn't be something that I hide because I was elected.
As people of faith and lawmakers work through these issues, the senators agree open dialogue is critical.
People will say you're either for religious liberty or you're for gay marriage. Or they'll say if you support religious liberty, then you're anti-gay. And they want to take that and just pull that apart. And that is factually not who we are, nor where we have been as a nation. And I think that is a very precarious road of constricting speech.
Putting people in a box, Lankford maintains, silences people of faith and stops important conversations. With the growth in millennials choosing lives without faith, Senator Chris Coons worries about religious literacy among non-believers. He says an individual's right to exercise their religion must be on equal footing with individual liberty.
As long as we can continue to lift up the importance of individual religious free exercise, and that it deserves an equal footing with a civil society where we respect individual liberty, we're at least asking the right questions.
And fortunately, those best principles do show up in the research. Devout Christians are actually reading their Bibles, sharing their faith, and praying together more today than they did 7 years ago. Senator Kaine says we're blessed to live in a country where both sides can talk about these issues civilly. That keeps America as a beacon to parts of the world where there is no peaceful approach to separate religious beliefs. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
Coming up, a prostitute is confronted by a neighbor with a bullhorn. Now this former streetwalker calls her neighbor Mom. Hear the rest of their remarkable story after this.
Pick up John's.
More than 2 million people are locked up in the criminal justice system. And even though there's a big push for reform, the question remains, can inmates change and live crime-free once they're released? John Jessup found a Florida rehabilitation program with a near-perfect record, and it's based entirely on the idea of Christian discipleship.
God our Lord, Jesus Christ, the Father of glory, gives unto me the spirit of wisdom and revelation.
This is not your usual Bible study or weekly small group. Each day, these women pray together, read the Bible, and hold each other accountable, things they say they desperately need as convicted felons.
We're not bad people, we've made bad choices.
All they tell you is that you're never going to make it. You're a convicted felon, you can't do it. It's going to be terrible to get a job.
Although women pose a lower public safety risk and their path to the criminal justice system often differs than men, the challenges they face upon release are often the same, like trying to find the support system they need to get back on their feet and fight for a second chance. Inside that door, Dawn Knighton is providing that support network by giving women a place to call home alongside others they come to know as family.
This is our little kitchen.
Cozy, you said?
Yes, it is cozy.
Christian counselor Dawn Knighton shares this small 3-bedroom home with all these women.
These are the ladies' rooms. We have 4 ladies to a bedroom.
Her goal, helping female inmates released from prison have a place to live, find work.
How was your day, Melanie?
It was great.
And become productive in society. Tough lessons for women with rap sheets that include grand theft, drugs, and even murder. For Dawn, this work is personal.
I deserve to be on death row. I deserve to be doing life in prison. And only by the grace of God, did he have another plan for my life.
Dawn's life of crime began with drugs. She would eventually sell her body to feed a crack cocaine addiction.
Before I knew it, I was homeless and, living a life just doing things I never dreamed I would do, having just absolutely no morals and doing everything I could just to survive.
You used to sleep here every night?
Yes.
She showed us where she slept, on the beach under these stairs. By day, she worked this street corner, harassed by habits she couldn't kick, and Christian neighbors who knew what she was up to.
And I got my bullhorn out, and I would get on the bullhorn and say, this is a no prostitution zone. The police will be called.
And I'm standing out there with a Glock in my, in my pants, and I'm like, if you don't go back in your house, I'm out here, I'm high, I'm trying to work. And we'd go back and forth.
That was really my first encounter with Dawn, but I didn't know Dawn personally. But I know I was praying for Dawn and a number of others like her.
A total of close to 50 felony convictions finally caught up with her. It was during her last prison sentence, confined in a cell with only a Bible, that she says she experienced a radical change.
And I cried out to God and I said, God, if what you say in your word is real and you will set me free from all this bondage, if you'll set me free, I'll spend the rest of my life telling people what you've done in my life. And he did.
She completed her first year of Bible college while behind bars. After getting out, she finished and even earned a PhD in biblical studies. She sees her release and this new life as a miracle and a reminder of her promise to show inmates there's hope.
I had never seen anyone who had come out of my lifestyle who had made it. And I told the Lord, I said, I want to be the one. I want to be the one to do it.
And the Florida Department of Corrections is helping her reach women in the same prison where she once served time. She's also working with others like the Potter's House and Pastor Cheryl Brady. But the most surprising partnership developed with the most unexpected person.
Never did I dream, in a million years that 4 years, 5 years later, I'd be at a conference and here comes this little lady that I once knew with a bullhorn.
And she looks at me and she goes, "You don't remember me, do you?" She said, "You're the lady with the bullhorn." And I said, "You're the lady on my corner."
Dawn now calls Kathy Mom, and together they pray with women on death row. Her rigorous discipleship program has a 98% success rate and a year-long waiting list. Those who make it through feel forever changed. Belinda, for example, recently left for Africa to work with children in Heidi Baker's Christian Missions Group. She credits both God and Dawn for giving her hope and a new identity.
I'm so thankful that he just took somebody like me and like us, all of us, and turned all of our ugliness and all of our ugliness, and he made it all beautiful.
Dawn's now expanding her ministry to men's prisons with plans to open up discipleship homes for them too. Her passion, however, remains the same: to see revival in the prison nation.
I had a lot of people tell me, "Oh, this is jailhouse religion, and when you leave, you're going to lose it." It's been 9 years, and I'm more on fire and more zealous today than I've ever been. I refuse, to hear that. I'm going to live for Jesus, and I'm going to stay on fire. I want to see revival.
John Jessup, CBN News, reporting from Daytona Beach, Florida.
Up next, they served their country, then God gave them another mission, but they didn't have the money to complete it. Find out how this military family got the help they needed. Arand and Christina had a dream to foster and adopt children, but suddenly several large expenses threatened to interfere with making their dream a reality. That's when CBN's Helping the Home Front gave this military family a hand up.
For 19 years, Aaron has served as a United States Marine, maintaining crucial radio and computer systems.
I'm proud to serve my country because I feel that this is the greatest country on earth, and I feel that God blesses our country because of the people that serve.
Aaron and his wife, Christina, like most military families, find deployments very challenging.
My faith is absolutely necessary to get through deployments.
When you're in that situation, you're in that place, everybody starts thinking a little bit more about what if something really bad were to happen. Our faith absolutely helps us take comfort that, everything is going to be okay.
Another challenge the family is facing is financial. They incurred several sudden large expenses, including funeral costs when Christina's mother died. It all made their dreams to foster and adopt children much more difficult.
Are we going to be able to make sure that everything is in place for the child to be comfortable and happy?
The repairs that we have on the vehicle, we actually had our second vehicle die. And it seems like a crazy, crazy time to get a foster license.
Still, they believe God will make a way for them to proceed.
And we're going to do it, and it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be glorious chaos.
Their church, New Song Community in Oceanside, California, contacted Helping the Home Front and asked if we could help with the family's expenses. We gladly agreed. Pastor Hal Seed was happy to deliver the good news.
I've pastored Marines like you guys for 24 years, and I have never had the privilege of giving the news that I'm going to give you. So I'm delighted to tell you that your mother's funeral expenses are going to be paid by CBN. The third seat you need in your SUV so you can adopt, we've arranged for a mechanic to install that for you. And your vehicle that you need fixed, they're going to take care of the repairs on that too. And then there's the shopping spree to take care of clothes and furniture and all those sorts of things as well.
I think for me, it's mind-blowing because we aren't used to being blessed in this way.
That day, CBN took Aaron and Christina to have their van repaired. Then it was time for a shopping spree for baby furniture and other items. This hard-working Marine family can now focus on welcoming children into their home with full hearts and every need met.
This is absolutely an answer to prayer, and this isn't the picture that I had in my mind. So it's very interesting to see how God works way way better than my plan or way better than what I would have thought of.
You can find more stories of how CBN is helping military families on the home front at cbn.com. We'll be right back. Facebook is going live on your desktop. To find out what this means for your social media experience, we turn to Caleb Kinchlow with today's digital download.
Facebook has finally unveiled live streaming for desktop devices. Now, of course, we kind of expected this. According to Adweek sources, this is a direct response in demand from journalists, bloggers, and do-it-yourselfers. Facebook user Delia Taylor was one of the first to randomly discover the new feature.
Suddenly there's a Go Live tab on my computer.
Mark Zuckerberg is further expanding live stream by allowing multiple users on a single broadcast from different locations. Now, this functions similar to how Google Hangouts works. Facebook also purchased Masquerade, an app that puts cute filters on your face just like Snapchat. Are you excited about this new live stream feature? Let us know your thoughts. I'm Caleb Kinchlow, and this is Digital Download.
That's it for now on CBN NewsWatch. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care about most at cbnnews.com. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.